Hi, I'm Kim Kohler, and this is ECT TV, episode 79. On Emerging Creatively Tutorials Television, I show you jewelry tutorials and give you creativity tips. You can learn more at KimberlyKohler.com. So, first of all, let me say happy 2017. Whether you've been watching these episodes from the very beginning or this is the very first episode you're watching, thank you so much for watching these videos. I really appreciate it. I love a fresh new year and planning out goals and ideas for the year. And as part of that, I also like to think about the creative projects I'm going to be doing for the year. So to go back to the end of 2016, in fact the last few months of 2016, I kind of got overwhelmed. I had a lot of projects I wanted to work on, a lot of things I wanted to do, and I wasn't being very good about making decisions. I didn't really have a plan, so instead of actually making a decision on what am I going to work on tonight, I made no decision, and thus I did no projects. I did do creative projects here and there, but not what I wanted to. So for 2017, I have come up with a plan, and I have pre-made all these decisions, so I won't have that as an excuse anymore. So today I'd like to kind of walk you through the process so that if you kind of feel the same way or you've had this problem in the past, you have a solution now and you can make all of your creative dreams come true for 2017. So before we even get started, I wanted to mention that I'm probably going to use some examples from my own life in this video, and you may not hear me saying very much that jewelry making is in those examples, and that is because jewelry making is kind of my job. It's what I do during the day. I make jewelry all the time. It's kind of non-negotiable. I don't have to think about it or make a plan for it because I teach jewelry making and I make jewelry all the time. So if you don't hear me specifically saying this is when I'm making jewelry, it's because I make jewelry throughout the entire week during the day. It's part of my quote-unquote day job. So I'm more thinking about things that I do creatively to, you know, relax and express my creativity and as a hobby, and less as the jewelry teaching that I do. For you, since you follow me and you're watching this video, I'm assuming jewelry making is going to be in that list of creative interests and creative projects you want to do. So you will add that in as well. You're going to understand that in a minute here when we get through the process. So let's get started. Okay, so this is a step-by-step process, and this is how exactly I planned out my creative projects. And I mentioned at the end of 2016 I was overwhelmed. I have already started at the last few weeks of 2016 putting this plan into place, so I was kind of ready to go for this year and already doing a lot of the things I'm going to tell you to do. So I know it works because it's working for me right now. So step number one is to just think about and then actually physically write down all the creative projects that you want to do for the year. At this point, just anything that you think of, put down on the paper. Don't edit yourself. Don't try to narrow it down. Don't think I can't do that, I don't have enough time. We'll get to that part shortly, but right now it's just everything you can think of that you might want to do. This could include, for example, if you are a jewelry maker, it could be different types of jewelry you want to learn how to make. It could be specific projects that you want to make. It could be other creative things you do, like knitting or crocheting. For me, it's a lot of scrapbooking and art journaling, in addition to the jewelry making I also do. So just write down everything you think of. If you're watching this video, I would love if you're doing this right along with me. Just hit pause, take as long as you want on the first step and in between all of these steps, and then just hit play again, and I'll be here waiting for you. So go ahead and hit pause, do step number one. Okay, step number 1 should be done. And now step number 2. Step number 2 is actually when and how much time do you actually have to work on creative projects? When can you actually schedule it in? So for me, I actually work from home, and it gets a little fuzzy between what is work and what is home and what is what. And for me, I've had to, and this is also part of what I've done in the last few weeks, come up with a schedule so that I know that during the day it's work. I'm working on work. And then in the evening is when I am hanging out with my family and working on creative projects. Maybe for you, you have a day job, so it could be pretty similar. You have to come home, make dinner, and then later on after dinner is when you are working on your creative projects. Maybe you have kids and it's after you tuck them in bed. Whatever amount of time you have is what you have. There's no judgment. It's how your life is. It's how it is. So if you have a half an hour a day, that's what you have. Maybe you only have weekends. Maybe it's just you have a Saturday or a Sunday afternoon and that's it. Whatever it is, write that down, kind of figure it out, get a schedule in place. These are the times I can be creative. Step number 3 is to now narrow down that list that you did in step number 1 of all the creative projects that you would be interested in doing this year. So for me, for example, I have about 1,008 different creative projects that I want to be doing at any given moment. I have so many ideas. I'm just kind of crafty by nature. Jewelry is my passion, but I love doing all kinds of crafty and artistic stuff. However, I don't have all the time in the world. I have other things I need to do. So I have to narrow them down. So go through your list, pick out your top few things. You now know how much time you actually have. So really think about it in terms of, I have this amount of time. What can I actually get done in that amount of time? We're going to actually make your time even more effective as we get through these tips, but you still only have a certain amount of time. So choose your top few projects that you want to do. And the other thing I want to mention is this. For me, I am doing a few long-term projects that are kind of going to last the whole year through. So for me, it might be a little bit different. For you, you might just simply know you want to make jewelry. So you're going to make jewelry every Sunday afternoon for 3 hours. So you might not have specific projects for something like that. You might want to have a few in mind, but it might not be long term. Or you might have a project like a specific piece of jewelry you want to make. So you could have a very long list of things, and then as you go through your year, just kind of go down that list and do the things. As time allows, I'm sure I'll work on other things, and that's awesome too, and I highly recommend you keep the rest of your list. Don't just get rid of it, keep it. You may change your mind, you may find you have more time, who knows? So keep the rest of your list, and then you can work on it as you have time. Step number 4 is to make a concrete schedule for the projects that you have chosen in the time that you have. So this makes sense if you're doing a lot of different projects. Like for me with the scrapbooking, if you're basically, you do jewelry making and you know you're going to be making jewelry, you probably already know at this time I'm going to make jewelry. And if you have specific projects, that's great. If not, then you just know you're making jewelry. For me, I have chosen specific days for each project that I want to work on next year. So for me, I know I'm working during the day, and then I'm making dinner, and then after dinner, those evenings, I have time to work on creative projects. So I've chosen a day for each project. So I know that on Monday nights I am going to work on the Awesome Ladies project. Tuesdays I'm going to work on my wedding scrapbook. And then Sundays, because it's kind of the end of one week, the beginning of another week, depending on how you look at it, I'm going to work on my Project Life album. So I'll be working on the prior week on Sunday, so it'll be either Sunday afternoons or Sunday evenings, depending on what my husband and I are doing that weekend. And then the other evenings, so mostly Wednesdays and Thursday evenings, are open. I'll be doing my art journal on one of those days, and then I have another day to work on the projects that I'm already working on some more, or do something else, or maybe I'll just read or something like that. Once you have decided on that schedule, you don't have to make decisions about it anymore. I know that on Tuesday evenings, I am working on my wedding scrapbook. I don't have to think about it. It's just what I'm doing. So that decision making is done. The decision making can take a lot of time, and it is mentally exhausting. So it was really helpful to just kind of get that decision out of the way. So the next couple things are a little bit bonus tips that are going to make your life so much easier and make your time more efficient. So step number 5 is to kind of maximize your creative time, get your supplies organized and kind of put together for each project that you're working on. In the past week, I have gone through all of my craft supplies. I have gone through all of my scrapbooking paper. I've gone through my jewelry making supplies. I've just gone through everything. I've pulled out everything that I don't use or that I don't think I'll use. I've donated a lot of stuff. And then what's left, I have organized. And so, in general, all my craft supplies are organized and easy to access. I know where everything is. Everything has its place, and it's clean and nice. And the actual bonus part of that is I found some things I either forgot I had or I thought I lost. And going through everything, I have found them or remembered them and have gotten a lot more inspired. I find it to be super inspiring to clean up your kind of workspace, your storage area, whatever you're using, whatever you have. And of course, now I feel more inspired because things are kind of rearranged and more organized, and I'm excited to use these items to get creative again. And now I have a bonus tip, and this tip is the tip that makes me the most efficient and quick and takes out the rest of the decision making and makes things so much easier. Organize your items by the projects that you're working on. So, in my example with me, with my scrapbooking things that I'm doing, for the Awesome Ladies project, I have decided the colors I'm using. I've picked out products. I've put everything in a basket. Everything I need to complete the project is in this basket. So on Monday nights, when it's my time to work on the Awesome Ladies project, I grab my basket and I have everything right there ready to go. If you are making jewelry, if you can make decisions on which exact beads and what wire you're going to be working on, maybe a week or a month at a time, put that all in a container and ready to go. Or if you have a work table, just make sure it's all on your work table. So that takes all of the decision making out of the creativity. And so when you get to your table, you can really just get to it, express yourself, and really be creative. It's actually very freeing and liberating, and decision making can really make you freeze up and stop, and it takes up a lot of mental energy. So hopefully that helps you. So, I know you're probably thinking this because I thought about this myself when I was actually creating my own schedule. What if you want freedom, not rules? Me too. I like doing creative projects because I like to think for myself. I don't like to do what other people tell me to do. I don't feel like being backed up into a box or have walls placed around me. However, I also get really overwhelmed and stuck when I have to make a lot of decisions. And if you're Creative time is like mine. At the end of the day, you've probably already made a lot of decisions, gone through a lot of work. You might be tired. The last thing you need to do is decide what you're working on out of the whole plethora of things you could be working on, and what papers you need, or what beads you need, or whatever products you need. It's so liberating and free to just already have those sorts of decisions made. Like I think I mentioned, I've been doing this for a few weeks already, and it has been amazing. It's completely liberating, and I'm actually working on lots of different creative projects. In fact, I'm working on more than what I mentioned because I'm still finishing up a couple things from the last year, and I don't feel overwhelmed at all. I feel completely in control. I feel happy. I feel creative. I feel inspired. I'm loving this whole system. And having said all that, nothing is set in stone. If you get sick of doing one thing, do something else, switch it out. You can switch it back later. Nothing's set in stone. Monday night you're going to be creative. If you decide what you've chosen you don't actually want to do, switch it up. The idea is to help you, but not hinder you in any way. So I hope this process is helpful. I hope it makes you feel more creative and inspired and gets you really expressing yourself for this year, for 2017. I hope you have a beautiful and creative new year.